In just the time it's going to take you to watch this, thousands, literally thousands of cyber attacks will be launched. It is a constant, invisible war. So today we're going to pull back the curtain on this digital battlefield. We'll look at who the attackers are, the blueprints we use for defense, and the non-negotiable rules that keep our digital world from, well, basically falling apart. This really is the question, isn't it? It's at the very heart of cybersecurity. On one side, you have attackers who are constantly inventing new ways to cause trouble. And on the other, you have defenders just trying to create some kind of order out of all that chaos. To really get a grip on this fight, we've got to understand the battlefield itself. All right, so let's set the stage. Let's talk about where all this action goes down, the cyber landscape. So what is the cybersecurity landscape exactly? Well, think of it as the whole digital security ecosystem. It's not just about, viruses and hackers and hoodies. It's everything. The good guys, the bad guys, all the weak spots in our systems, and every piece of tech that's used to attack and defend. And here is the real kicker, the thing that makes this so challenging. This world is not static. It changes every single day. The landscape is never the same 2 days in a row. Attackers are always cooking up new tricks. And the defenders? They have to constantly adapt just to keep pace. It is a relentless, non-stop race. Okay, so let's dive into the chaos. Let's meet the players who are stirring the pot. Because, if you want to build a solid defense, you absolutely have to know your enemy, who they are, how they attack, and where they're going to hit you. First up, let's talk about the who. In the security world, we have a term for them: threat actors. And look, this isn't just the stereotype of some lonely hacker in a dark room. No way. They come in all shapes and sizes, and each one has their own reasons for doing what they do. And just look at the variety here. You've got nation-states, we're talking governments, playing these high-stakes digital spy games. Then you have organized cybercriminal groups who are all about the money, plain and simple. But the threat can also come from the inside, from disgruntled employees, or from hacktivists who are using their skills for a political cause. And then, at the other end of the spectrum, you have script kiddies, folks with low skills using pre-made tools just to cause some trouble. Okay, so that's the who. Now let's get into the how. How do they actually get to you? These are the methods, the pathways they use to breach a target. In the biz, we call these threat vectors. It's basically the attacker's playbook. And I bet you've seen some of these before. Email phishing? That's a classic. That fake email from your bank asking for your password? Yep, that's a threat vector. Then there's malware, nasty software like viruses or ransomware. Social engineering is a bit different. It's all about tricking a person, not a computer. But maybe the scariest of all are the zero-day vulnerabilities. These exploit security flaws that are brand new, so new that even the software company doesn't know about them yet. Talk about an unfair advantage. All right, so we've got the who and the how. The last piece of the puzzle is the where. See, attackers can't just waltz in. They need an open door, a crack in the armor. And these weak spots, we call them vulnerabilities. It's what the threat actors use their threat vectors to exploit. And here's something that's so important to remember. These weaknesses, they're not always some super complex bug in the software code. A lot of the time, the vulnerability isn't in the machine at all. It's us. It's human error. Just one person clicking on one bad link in an email can be the open door an attacker needs to take down the whole company. It's that simple and that serious. So let's tie this all together. It's actually a pretty simple but really powerful way to think about it. Threat actors are the who, the ones trying to cause harm. Threat vectors are the how, the way they try to reach you. And vulnerabilities are the where, the weak spot they target. Who, how, where. If you get that relationship, you're already on your way to building a much smarter defense. Okay, so we've seen the chaos, right? We've met the bad guys and seen their playbook. So, now what? How do we start bringing some order to this mess? Well, that's where we get into our first layer of defense, the big picture, strategic blueprints we call frameworks. Now hold on. Before we dive in, we've got to get this straight because it's super important. There's a big difference between frameworks and standards. Think of it like this. A framework is like a blueprint. It gives you guidance, a strategic plan. It's often voluntary. A standard, on the other hand, is like a law. It's a set of specific, actionable rules that are often mandatory. You have to follow them. Blueprint versus law. Got it? Good. So a cybersecurity framework is basically that strategic roadmap. It's not going to tell you, hey, you have to buy this exact brand of firewall. No, it's more high level. It gives you the structure, the game plan, to make sure you're looking at all the risks and building a security program that actually covers all your bases. Probably the most famous one out there is the NIST Cybersecurity Framework, or CSF for short. And what it does is brilliant. It boils everything down to 5 core ideas that work in a cycle. First, you identify what you need to protect. Makes sense. Then you protect it. Next, you have to be able to detect when something's wrong. You need a plan to respond when an attack happens. And finally, you have to be able to recover and get back to normal. Identify, protect, detect, respond, recover. It's the entire life cycle of defense, all laid out. Then there's another really cool one called the MITRE ATT&CK framework. And its genius is that it completely flips the script. Instead of just thinking like a defender, it makes you think like an attacker. It's this massive knowledge base of all the real-world tactics and techniques attackers actually use. It's like having the enemy's playbook, which is huge for helping defenders guess what's coming next. And then you have something like the CIS Controls. What's this big number 18 all about? Well, it's a prioritized list of the 18 most critical, most effective security actions any organization can take. And that's why it's such a great starting point. It basically says, look, don't get overwhelmed by the thousands of things you could do. Just start here. Do these 18 things first, and you will slash your risk level big time. All right, so if frameworks are the blueprints, what are the strict, non-negotiable building codes? That, my friends, brings us to standards. Remember, these are the rules of the road, the specific things you must do, and there are often some pretty serious penalties if you don't. Let's start with a big one, PCI DSS. If you've ever used a credit card, so basically everyone, this standard impacts you. It's a mandatory set of security rules for any company that processes, stores, or even just touches credit card data. The goal is super simple. Keep your financial info safe. And if companies don't comply, we're talking massive, massive fines. Next up, there's HIPAA. This is a U.S. federal law, and it's all about one thing, protecting your sensitive health information. It lays down some really strict rules for doctors, hospitals, insurance companies, anyone who handles your medical data on exactly how they have to keep it private and secure. And finally, let's talk about GDPR. Now, this started as the European Union's big privacy regulation, but trust me, its reach is global. Here's why. If a company anywhere in the world handles the personal data of any EU citizen, they have to follow GDPR's rules. And those rules are really strict about how data is collected, how it's stored, and what rights you have over your own information. Okay, let's zoom out for a second. We've got this chaotic landscape, we've got these really sophisticated attackers, and we've got these layers of defense, the strategic blueprints and the hard and fast rules. It's a really complex system. But what does it all boil down to? Why should you, personally, care about any of this? Here's the takeaway. These frameworks, these standards, they aren't just boring documents for big companies. They have a direct impact on your life. They shape the security of the apps on your phone. They're the reason you can trust websites with your credit card, and they protect the privacy you expect every single day. But as our world gets more and more connected, the real question is this: how are these digital rulebooks going to have to change with it? How will they evolve to protect us in a future that, honestly, we can't even fully imagine yet? Something to think about. Thanks for joining me.